Awesome. So welcome everybody to this special Zoom for all of you who have taken a Choice of Possibilities class at some time. You might have just taken one, or you might have taken one a few years ago. But once you have taken a COP, you are a certifiable fucking miracle worker, or a CFMW. A wonderful honorary title created by Gary Douglas. And so we have calls every now and again for CFMWs. Some of you might be other types of facilitators in Access, like a bars facilitator, or this might be your first venture into realizing once you've done a COP, you can facilitate intro classes and things. So there's often a lot of questions people have, whether they've recently taken a COP or maybe it's been a while, but you'd like to start looking at creating a business with Access using like these different intros that you can offer. So the brilliant Francesca, who is our worldwide coordinator, and I came on to talk to you all and answer questions. And Pam Hodeling should be on here too, somewhere. Thank you.
Usually she is. Hey, La. Hello.
So if you followed two COPs, are you then CFMW plus or?
Super plus.
Super
Almost.
plus. Okay, good.
Yeah, of course. Fantastic.
So if you guys don't know too, I know not everybody loves Facebook, but if you're on Facebook, we do have a CFMW Facebook group. And maybe Betsy or someone could put that link in. If you haven't joined, it's just another place to ask questions and also get reminders for these calls. We do send emails, but I know how emails are. We are also creating a new area to find resources because one, not everyone's on Facebook. And we know that since you can do intros, some of the intros that you can facilitate online or in person have manuals, like little mini manuals all made for you and graphics. And they're in the Facebook group, but those resources can be hard to find. So what we have recently created, and we continue to add to it, is a new resource center housed in Kajabi, which is just an online library. You might have bought other things from Dr. Dane or other facilitators that have websites on Kajabi. But it's basically a really easy way to hold materials so that you can find things easily. So we created one for CFMWs. I will share the link in here so you guys can join. It's free. It's just another way for you to listen to the replay of this call, for example, find your manuals, find past replays, learn what are the intros I can do. And Betsy, you want to put in the CFMW group, and you can go join the practitioner group too, because you all are also practitioners. But that way, if you guys sign up for the Kajabi, it's another way we can let you contact you more easily. We know you're interested in being a CFMW and creating. And the link, I'll put the link in here. It's not for you guys to share yet, because it's for you, because we know you've taken a COP because you're on the call. And then once other people sign up, we have a different way for them to get access.
That's amazing. And Emily, I just want to thank you for everything it's been organizing so far, right? I mean, I don't know you, but when I came to Access, there was not all of the things. We were really much more in a solo pool, and still Access were contributing so much. But how now is organized, the ease that there is, and the availability, it's phenomenal. And you guys are phenomenal, because we have been growing exponentially. When I came to Access, there was no prereqs to actually do an intro to talk about Access. Anyone that took a bars class could do it. And then I remember when Gary changed it, because it's literally the demand from people to know more, it's constantly increasing. So he said, look, you need to have more information before being able to talk about the Access Consciousness tool with people. And one other thing as well, I remember that wasn't directed to me, but when he was mentioning about that, don't worry, you don't have to talk about everything. What if you're willing to just pick one single topic, and that could be exactly how does it get any better than that, and talk for an hour. So that's it. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Access. Thank you, guys. I love Pam with your background that you have. Like she blurs the background. That's amazing. And you guys have any questions or something that you would like to for us to talk in particular?
And you guys can unmute or put questions in the chat too.
Sorry, I'm very pleased. My daughter just had a 7.2 on the math, so yay, she did a good, bro. She did a good job. So
well, let me
That's good.
we can go over. So we just had the largest COP ever recently with Dr. Dane. There were lots of people live so far, exactly. Largest so far, and so many people online. And as we have more CFMWs, we get a lot of questions of what can you facilitate? So maybe Pam, you're the best to go over kind of like just a general kind of what can they facilitate, what works and what doesn't, and then we'll see if that spurs some more questions.
Sure. So basically, as a CFMW, what you can facilitate is intro classes. So that means kind of a one-time event, not series, right? So it wouldn't be a teleseries or a 5-day challenge or anything like that. It's an event that's introducing people to access. Now, given that it can be any topic, well, almost any. There's a few topics that are kind of like need special permission, but really anything that's going to be introducing people to access. So it might be about money, or it might be about relationships or bodies, or you know, how to thrive in difficult times, or kind of whatever you're inspired with to bring these access tools, you know, to people with whatever topics interest you. And then we have ways, like if you're like, I don't know where I would start. We have some intros we've set up for you that have manuals, little mini manuals that you can use and kind of walk you through it. You can get access books that are printed in your language and pull tools, you know, get some quotes, some tools, some ideas from the book and do a book-based intro. But you can also just take, you know, the things you've learned in classes and apply those tools to some area of life that you'd like to do an introductory class about.
Cool. And then I'll answer the couple questions that are coming in, like, can I facilitate the intro more than once? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So if you find one that you love, like one of the intros we have is called Create More Time, More Money, More Joy. And it's based on the Joy of Business book, which is in a ton of languages. So we have that manual and graphics in a lot of languages. And if you find that you love facilitating that, like you jump in, you try it once and you're like, that was great, then you can schedule another intro again and see what other new people show up. Intros are a great way to invite people to the tools of access. Like maybe someone's not interested in a bars class, but they're interested in a topic about money or being different or one of the books. And so an intro class is designed to be an introduction. So just because you've taken a choice of possibilities, that doesn't mean you go to your COP manual and like give them the latest COP clearing. You definitely don't do that in an intro, but it's like Gary Douglas, you know, looked at, okay, you've taken a bars, you've taken foundation, you've taken a choice of possibilities class, you've had a lot of access, and you have the capacity to speak to people and invite them to more access by giving them an intro on different topics. So a great way is to look at like the books in access, or the first material that got you excited, like about access, some of the basic questions, and really staying on an intro level of a topic contributes to new people and people that have been doing access. Like the way you facilitate, the way you be a space for someone of no judgment and listen to their questions and empower them. That's the gift of facilitating access. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to give them all these clearings. It's really, they're going to choose you and your intros and your classes because you're different than anyone else. And so this can really be your, you know, you might facilitate other things, or maybe this is the first time you're going to facilitate access, but you don't have to know everything on the topic. Like what inspired you when you were beginning, and really like they can be up to 4 hours, but usually you'll find an intro, especially at now when things are on Zoom and online, people get very fried after about an hour and a half, maybe
Oh
2
my
hours.
God.
Very fried, right? So, basically you can play around with this. The manuals that are there for you for the classes that do have a manual, right now they're in the Facebook group. You could always email customer service at accessconsciousness.com. But that is one of the reasons we created this new CFMW Kajabi. So I put the link in the chat if you guys can see the chat and copy it out. That's where you can sign up for the CFMW Online Resource Center. So it's easier for you to find the manuals and things like that. And where it's not fully finished, we keep adding to it. But if you sign up now, you'll be able to explore around there and find things like that. For
Emily?
the things. Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say the first intro that I ever did, first of all, my facilitator had said to me, open your mouth, you'll know what to say. And what I did was I asked everybody, I said, there's something that got you here tonight, sitting in this seat at my class. What is it? What would you like to get out of coming here? And people started giving me, like the topics to do in the class, because one person says, well, I'm really stressed about money. And another person says, well, I've been stuck in this job and I'm not sure what to do. And it gives you a place of what tools to start bringing in to address what they're there for. And a lot of times, like, you might pick a title for your class. I used to use one, are you surviving or thriving, or from, survival into thrival, something like that. But what the actual class would come from what people are asking about. And you can do that. Even if you say your class is a money class and what everybody's asking you about is parenting, you just shift on over to what they're asking about. So one of the questions is, if I've taken Talk to the Entities classes, which Talk to the Entities is one of the specialty classes of Access Consciousness, can I do an intro on that? Well, no and yes. So you cannot do a Talk to the Entities class or a Right Recovery for You class or Joy of Business class. Those are special specialties of Access that have special licensing. Everyone is a certified facilitator and they do additional training and in that specialty. So, but what you can do is, you don't do a Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids class, but you could do an intro on parenting from consciousness. You wouldn't do a Talk to the Entities class, but you could certainly do something about, clearing entities out of your house, because you're not using those trademarked terms of the specialties themselves.
And when you guys start asking about topics that you can choose for intros, the great thing about being a CFMW that's different than being a BARS facilitator. So we did create some intros for BARS facilitators to facilitate, which are a lot of the ones that have a manual and graphics. Because a person could be a BARS facilitator, right, and never done a foundation yet. So because they could take their 3 BARS classes. So we wanted to give BFs different ways to invite people to access. So they can do the pre-made intros for them. You guys as a CFMW have a choice to create topics that interest you, like on bodies, like on relationship, like on things like that, that you create and talk about. So that's one of the things, you have a bit more freedom in creating classes and choosing topics, and you still want to choose topics that are an intro topic. So like something that would not be an intro topic and that you can't do intros on are abuse. Pam, there's other ones, demons, I believe.
Sex, yeah.
Sex, demons, 9 trannies, abuse, gaslighting, and Golden Planet. No one can do Golden Planet and demon classes. And then the other 4, even certified facilitators, require special approval for those topics. So, but most anything else is available to you, but also look at, is your topic introductory? So someone was asking, can we do an energy pool class? So you would not do an energy pool series, right? Because that's something to do series of things. You have to be a certified facilitator. but an energy pull intro, like I might go with, hey, I want to do an intro on adding more energy and joy into your life, right? That's my intro topic. An energy pull might be something that's a tool that I would use in the course of that intro that I introduce somebody to, but it's not really, an intro topic. The idea that you can pull energy and change things is not an introductory idea usually. People have sometimes—
No, it's not actually.
Yeah.
People think that, you're like a devil, or oh my God, what are you doing? Are you manipulating people? But it's also like, you can talk, about the different energy present in your life, or the energy flows, but it's a different, yeah. Because also, like what I was mentioning, like I know there are other questions that probably you, Pan, and Emily will go through, but it's literally, I can say, me as well as a CF, they've been a CF since long time. I actually have a little bit of, I don't know who is, it's Juliana is talking, but I have a little bit of attention and looking and awareness of which title I'm going to put in the class and who is going to come to my class. Because I can have people coming to my class that have been done different sorry, still almost 6 a.m. other access classes, but I can have really very brand new people. And there is never a very basic intro in access in a way or the other, but like also being aware about that and honor the people coming to the class. And when you are willing to be aware of that and not forcing something, because you want to be like, oh my God, I want to do, let's talk about entities all the time. You could then, what if you ask your business and say, if I'm choosing this topic and this title, how will be my business in 5 years? Get the energy of it. I mean, what I want to create with this class. Good. Like, so it's also being aware of what want to create. Because if you are that present, things will flow with ease, joy, and glory. That's the mantra of access as well. So that's what, but it's so amazing seeing people like coming on and being so eager to create. What if you don't have to be as anyone else and any other facilitator and any people that you see online with quotes or image? What if you just be you? Don't know, guys, if you watched the other day, the Be New Day, I watched the replay again. Please do it. It's, that's the energy, because that's what attracts someone else. That's literally what attracts someone else. And I love what Pam mentioned as well. Like you sit in front of people and in a way you're freaking out because you don't know what to talk about. And at the same time, consciousness has your back. So you can words come and content come to fruition when you are there presenting the intro, facilitating the intro. So yeah.
Cool. And I see a couple questions. I want to address a few of the ones in the chat.
I can't read it. I can't read.
There's a lot. So you guys also can unmute too to ask questions, but I think we'll try to get to read them. Just give us a moment to read through all of them. So for the intros, yes, they can be online or they can be in person, but they can't be a mix of both. So you can't have like some people in person and some people online. So you want to choose one or the other. You do not have to apply for a topic and for a title. That's something different. But if you have a question of like, is this an intro topic? It's kind of a strange energy. Then please write us at customerservice@accessconsciousness.com. That's probably going to be the best way to get information if something feels a bit strange. And please do ask, because if everything feels wonky, like ask a question. As far as price, we recommend not charging less than like whatever an equivalent of $35 US is. And that's a minimum recommended. You still get to choose. So you could choose whatever you'd like. Ask the class, what would it like to be? It might change each time. And you want to value the immense gift of these tools. So that's why we say, please please charge at least that. And we know that currencies are very different in different countries. So look at that, but you get to choose the price. To create, like if you like to use the Access website and you want to create a class posting on the website, and if you're not another type of facilitator, you can get the CFMW title added to your profile online. So if you're new to Access or being a facilitator, you can create a public profile where people can search your name or search classes and find you online. So we have about 1 million people that come to the website a month. So there's a lot of people going there to find facilitators and classes, which is awesome. So if you'd like to use that and you want to have the CFMW added to your titles of like your different certifications, then Pam, am I correct? They just write to customer service at accessconsciousness.com?
Right. We don't, because a lot of people take a COP and aren't interested in facilitating classes and doing a business. So we don't add that to everybody. But if you just write an ask, we'll do that. And then if you have a public profile, you can actually post your classes to the public calendar on the Access website.
And so we created like a kind of general class posting for you to post. Say you're going to create an intro on bodies, but of course you're creating it, right? So we have an intro class that once you have CFMW added to your title, that is called Creating Change with the Tools of Access Consciousness. And so you can use that because it's a very general class posting, right? To create your class title. That way it gets listed on the Access website. And then there's always a spot where you can add in details about your class. So that's where you could write in, this class is about bodies. We'll be going over some main questions, or this class is about asking a question. And maybe you go over like, what else is possible? How does it get any better than this? The energy of asking a question and being the question. Like that's a fantastic intro. So you can use that class posting, which is nice. You'll also find some of the other ones that we created, like for bars facilitators that you can facilitate too. They actually have their own listing. So once you have CFMW added to your profile, when you go into like create a class, when you log into the website, you'll have different things available to you in your drop-down menu that you can facilitate. So you'll see that general one, creating change with the tools of access. And then you'll also see like the one I mentioned before, based on the Joy of Business book, create more time, more money, more joy. There's one about stepping into being you, based on the Being You Changing the World book. So you'll see different titles there, but you can create your own. And that's why we have that very general class posting.
Emily, I'd like to address one of the questions asking about using the clearing statement in intros, and that somebody had told them, hey, only CFs can do lots of clearings. So, so there's something called a clarity and clearing night, which certified facilitators can do. And that's where like I might have like 20 clearings on money, and everybody's coming. I'm not doing a lot of introductory, here's what Access is, inviting you to try it. We're just there to clear stuff about money. So that is something a CF license is required for. But say you're doing an intro on money. So, you might be like, okay, I've got 3 or 4 tools in my pocket that I know I can pull out and use. There's a couple of money clearings that I liked that I want to bring into this. And people are going to be asking questions and stuff will come up and you can clear things. If I say, Emily, I feel so under the burden of debt and I don't know what to do. And Emily might say, well, everything that is, we destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And she might be like, oh, there's this great money clearing I heard. And she runs that clearing. So it's in your intros as a CFMW, you can definitely use the clearing statement, but it's about introducing people to topics and facilitating them. A clearing night is like, we are just blasting through a ton of clearings to create a lot of change in this area. Does that help people with that? Do I or don't I use the clearing statement?
And also, it's so nice. Like I remember the first as well. Like the clearing statement is it's a big deal itself. Explaining to it, but at this time too, like we have the video of Dane, and we have actually a landing page called www.theclearingstatement.com. It's translating tons of languages. So you can also just listen to him, and talk, oh, give me another perspective, how to talk about the clearing statement. And in case you can send people there afterwards. Or you can also just play with people there if anyone has a question. So there are so many other, resources that will help you as well, will contribute to you. Yeah. And just one other thing as well, I say, like, these ladies are amazing. They're giving you so many information. I had the sense that I don't know so much anymore. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, we changed this, we changed that. But at the same time, like, you will know. That's what Access is, like, empowering to know that you know. And what if you look at as well, when you're facilitating other, you have an intro with others, like, yeah, good.
And
Can I-
another, okay.
Pam, I wanted you to clarify this because someone also wrote about, like, can I write the clearing statement, and about creating your own quote handouts or manuals versus the ones we provide.
Right. So, so think in terms of copyright stuff. There's a difference between, I have a class, we do some clearings, I'm sending you the recordings. Maybe I write down the clearings we ran in class and I'm sending you those. That's different than I'm creating written content that includes access tools. You got somebody at your door, Emily. So that giving people some follow-up from your class is very different than I'm taking copyrighted access tools and creating a written document that I'm handing out. So, so you can use the manuals we created. Betsy, I know at some point we were looking at like a template of a handout that people could use at the book-based intros. I don't know if we ever really got that going, but we could resurrect that. But yeah, so what we'd ask you is that you not take tools and put them in writing and make a handout that you're giving people as a manual for the class. That but you're welcome to do some of that in the follow-up of, hey, here's the clearings that we ran, so that they can have them. And another,
Finish.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, all right. I'm getting ready to teach a bars and foundation class, and I'm being asked if I can facilitate like an intro to entities, which I've taken 4 entities classes, several really small ones. I've never taken the other. So I'm not a facilitator of TTTE. But when you were talking about beginner classes, can I do something like a Ghost 101, like a 90-minute Zoom and make it all online?
So yeah, so basically, yes, Ghost 101, you're taking the tools and applying them to a topic, in this case, entities. It would not be appropriate to go combing through all of your Talk to the Entities manuals and kind of try to deliver that material. It's more, okay, here's a topic. What questions do you guys have about ghosts? Do you have ghosts in your life? What comes up for you about this topic? And you start clearing that. And someone might ask a question that you're like, oh, they covered that in foundation, I'm grabbing that tool. Or, oh, they covered that in this other class I did.
That was my question.
That tool.
because it's in foundation, that's kind of the place I wanted to be, since they were already taking foundation, because it would be the 3rd night. And I thought, well, that's safe. But I told my host, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to be on this call. So that clarifies a lot. Thank you.
And I'm glad you asked that, because that kind of questions, there's a lot of that in the thread. Like, so think of it this way. You're not taking another class you took and trying to repackage it in the form of an intro under another name. Yes. You can pick a topic that you're interested in, and the questions people ask, a clearing will come to mind, a tool that you learned will come to mind, and you're welcome to bring that in, but you're not trying to mimic something that already exists.
I love it. That really helps a lot. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can I
Okay,
ask something
well,
from the
you're next.
Turkish?
Yeah.
Okay, Turkish chat. I think she's not online here. You may have already talked about it. I didn't have time to read. The question is, during the pandemic, BFs could do online introduction classes, and CFMWs can always do that. Is that true? Is one question. And the second question is the intros depending on the books of access. And can we do them online? That's the question. Thank you.
Emily, do you want me to take that one?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I was slightly multitasking during the first part, but I think I got the question, which is, so CFMWs have always been able to do, or at least for many years, online classes. So you being able to do online classes or in-person classes is there regardless of COVID. For bars, facelift, and body process facilitators, the intros that they have to do, there's a special exception during COVID that they can do them online. And we'll see, as COVID progresses, how that all changes. But the online for CFMW is not something that would go away. So in terms of book-based events, there's book readings, there's book intros. Both of those are available to you guys. A book reading this is my checkbook, but it looks a little bit like a book. I get the book and I'm sitting there online and I'm reading from the book. And it's just a way of introducing people to the book and sharing some of the tools that are in there. When you're doing that, make sure you only read less than 30% of the book. You wouldn't go on and read an entire book. And if you're doing that in something like a Facebook Live that creates a recording, we ask that you take the recording down in 48 hours. But it's basically a way of getting people, online together or in person together to enjoy a section of a book. You're not reading it, you're not discussing it, you're not podpocking things, it's just reading. You can create a book-based intro, which is where you have the book, you're pulling tools from it, you're crafting an intro class that's based on that book. The thing to know with books is the book has to be published in your language, the language you're going to facilitate in. So whether you're reading the book or you can't translate the book yourself for a class, it has to be published. So then in terms of what you can do with the books, it's, I could either say, I want to do an intro on money. I happen to have read some money books, but I'm just crafting my own title and ideas for a money class. And I might bring in some tools from the books, but it's not about the book. If I'm going to do a book-based intro, it's actually about the book. So if I was doing a Write Riches for You book intro, first I'd encourage everybody to buy the book. And then, we'd get on and I might read some sections of the book and podpoc things that come up for people. And we'd discuss the book and the tools. And again, for that intro, you would never read more than 30% of the book. That 30% piece is due to publishing contracts. But you wouldn't be able to read most books. You can't read the whole book in an intro anyway. So unless you read really fast. So let me know if that got at the question that you were asking about books.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah.
I think Celine, your question is next.
Hello. Oh, thank you very much for this. It really helps me a lot about whether to use clearing statement or not. That really bothers me. And I have people ask me that you are not a CF, you cannot use clearing statement online. But since, according to what I just heard, it is, if I create a intro class, then when it comes up, clearing statement comes out, I can say the clearing statement online. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think it's, if it is in the Zoom, like private, I feel it's very safe. But can I do it on the FB Live?
So Emily, I'm going to let you take that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a miscommunication, I guess, and this is where you need to use your awareness. Even if I had only taken a bars class, if you're doing a Facebook Live, kind of like what Pam had said before, the clearing statement is it's one of the most potent tools in Access, right? And so it's a lot of how you present it. So, Dr. Dane does Tour of Consciousness that go everywhere on YouTube, and he frames, he might use the clearing statement, but it's framed in a certain way. He always sends people to the clearing statement website, right? Facebook Lives especially are great if they're in a group, because similar to a Zoom, at least people in that group are interested in Access. If you're doing a Facebook Live just on your public page, just ask questions of what can people receive. But if you're talking about something and you want to say, okay, so everything that brings up, would you destroy and uncreate this? Yeah, I'm going to use something called the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. It's this, awesome thing that, like, the newest upgrade in personal development that changes the energy. You can find out more at theclearingstatement.com. It's right, wrong, good, bad, POC, PUD, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyond. So, yes, you can use it, and you want to, when you are especially in a public forum like that, a Facebook Live, be aware you're not talking to someone that's done a bunch of Access. Like, anyone can see that video. So to be an invitation, that's like a way you would frame it of, here's this awesome thing, find out more here, and I'm going to use it really simply. And then absolutely, you'll hear different facilitators and people using that on podcasts or in the media, but they present it that way. So it's very accessible, very hearable, and not like the latest clearing you just heard. So absolutely don't feel like you can't do that. And then just always, if you're not in a group and you're speaking publicly, make sure to frame it that way. Don't go into some big giant clearing and send people to theclearingstatement.com. And then it's an invitation rather than, what is that crazy person talking about, with no frame of reference. Then people use it as a judgment and a way to reject. So that's kind of everything with Access, is like, how can this be an invitation? And always speak to that broader audience of, you don't know where that's going to end up. And would this be an invitation for people being like, I'd like to find out more about that. And that's a great way to use it.
It's just a contrast to what you just said, Emily. If you went on social media and said, what energy, space, consciousness, choice, magic, miracles, mysteries, and possibilities can I be to be the blah, 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 and you just had that, do you get what people are gonna be like, what? Emily sounds a little crazy. Whereas, with what you talked about, of it's part of a conversation, it's part of how you're engaging with people, and it happens to come up. And that's something, when, I don't know if you guys know this, but I deal with a lot of the complaints that come into Access about facilitators. And so often the complaints are coming from when a facilitator is trying to prove something. They're trying to get people to get it. They're trying to convince someone that this stuff is great. So as I'm saying that, do you get that energy? It's kind of this forceful, I'm trying to ram this, how wonderful Access is, down your throat. Who wants that, right? Whereas if you're being an invitation, if you're inviting people to the tools, and you're there to say, yes, these are amazing, if you and they're here, would you like to come play? That's a very different energy. And what Emily's talking about with the clearing statement, if you're going on doing clearings trying to get people to get how amazing you are, that's going to go over like a ton of bricks. If you're there really wanting to contribute and being willing to have people choose it or not, and you're engaging in a way that they can receive, that's a completely different energy.
And Catalina, you're going to be the next question, because I know you had your hand raised. Before we take your question, one thing I want to clarify too, that Pam was saying earlier about can you do online? And Betsy had put in the chat that there's an online deadline by June 25th. For you guys as CFMWs, because as Pam said, you can facilitate online. That was there before COVID happened. So you can still facilitate the online intros after June 25th. That's for some of the other exceptions for facilitators like CFs that are doing foundation online right now. And that's what that deadline is. For these intros, that doesn't apply. So these you can facilitate online now and into the future. I saw someone ask a question about that. Okay, Catalina.
Hi, Emily. Hi, everyone. My question is, if I have in a class participants who don't speak English, so if I have a mix of English and non-English, do I facilitate with a translator or how does that work?
I can take this question, it's easy. No, like, it's your choice. Like, I mean, it's the fact that if she doesn't understand you, because you're bilingual, right? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your choice could be to do, I don't suggest you to do a class bilingual, like stop and translate yourself. I did it. And it's really much brain frying after 5 minutes. So you can have a translator translating you from the English to the language. And then, you know, we have.
Sorry, does it have to be a certified translator from Access or no?
You choose.
Oh, okay. So that was basically the question.
I mean, if you have someone that actually does Access a little bit, it could help, because that's, for instance, in Access after you have actually, by the way, now that you have done a choice of possibility and you would like to, you know, dive into the translation for Access Consciousness, you could apply for it. We actually require to have at least ONESB, ONCOP, because there is a level of energetically and knowing about Access and the tools that they have to know translator, right? Before that doesn't work. So being aware and ask questions, you know, might have your friends have done a bars class or something. So see how it goes. Yeah.
Well, and you could,
someone
like,
brand new, sometimes it's not the easiest. Yeah, go ahead.
I just say, if the person you want to translate has never been to an Access class, like run their bars and maybe have them come to an English language, you know, like a language, whatever language works for them, class that they're not translating, so that they can have some of the change and the possibilities before you're asking them to have enough brain power to translate your class while it's getting fried at the same time. So
thank you.
And just to complete, if you desire to apply, you ask, what does it take to become a translator for Access Consciousness, live or on live? Look at all these beautiful faces mimicking us when we're talking. You can just email translation@accessconscious.com and asking how, when, and where apply.
Thank you.
Translation it's very easy. Okay. There is
Thank
someone
you.
else. Thank you, Joe.
I think Jyoti was next, and then Rebecca.
Hi everyone, thank you for this call. It gives a lot of this thing. So I have been like watching the whole thing from the bleachers for a long time, and I have recommended a lot of books to my friends. Some of them have done Access and some of them have not. And they come back reading the book saying, hey, I read this book that you recommended. So what does this mean? And I more often than not, help them get what they are getting. So I was having this idea for about 2-3 months now, that should I get them together on the Zoom and just have a thing where, hey, what do you know? What is your question about this book? And can I answer that? So that is where I was coming from. That's because they have similar questions sometimes, and I repeat to different people in the call when I'm talking to different friends. So like there are 5 or 6 people who bought the same book, say.
So, I mean, you could do that. What I would suggest, kind of bigger than that, is to have a book-based intro based on the book. So, and invite them to it and say, hey, I know you had some questions about this book. This intro would be a great a great place to come and ask some of those questions, because then it's an event that you can invite more people to. And you're also, sometimes when you make it about, like in response to someone's questions, it only is going to go so far as, like, they might not be willing to go very far, right? Whereas if you make it a class that they can come to if they really want to, because sometimes somebody's like saying they have a question, but they don't actually have a question in their universe. They're just looking for a reason to separate from the material. And you don't want to get stuck in trying to facilitate to that, because there's nowhere to go. It's not very fun.
One of the things what has been happening is like, almost, over the last 2020, the lockdown, I practically read 20 books of Access after the bars class, and the speed at which I read, I, cover to cover everything in between, and I started processing for myself because I didn't have the money to do the foundation. And as and when the money would come up, I would keep on, so I just kept on buying the books, and I became, so they were like going crazy around me, how many books are you buying? And I would go into tour of consciousness and everything. So practically every free resource, like what Francesca was saying on the other call, I like digged into YouTube and everything, and so I had so much of material on me that blew their heads apart. So they, like, can you do something? And yet I am sitting on the fence that I have done COP. I know CFMW is something that is available, but I do have a lot of pod and POC to do before I choose to be a CF. So I was just thinking that I can use, like, we can have a Zoom book study as to where far we can go. And if people have questions, can I help them with that?
Yeah. So what you can do is an event. You do have to have the CF license to do a book club series. So it wouldn't be a series, but you could definitely have an event about the book. Yeah.
Thank you. That helps. And your question about, you ask them the question, what do they know, makes my life much simpler. I would rather ask them what they know and get away with it, because they are operating yet from the conclusion, that decision they have about the book and what's written there makes my life simpler. And I said, yeah, go for it. Let them figure it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyoti. Rebecca, your question is going to be next. Before we take that one, Pam, do you want to clarify again, kind of help with different people are asking about X-Men earlier and the pragmatic practitioner, and kind of that difference between, when I pick a topic, do I have to have taken a class in something? What can that sort of question.
So think of it this way. An intro is using basic tools. Who does this belong to? The clearing statement, heavy and light, asking questions. Those are tools you can apply to any topic. So, the things you mentioned, like talk to the entities, pragmatic psychology, those are established specialties of Access. Let me pick a different one. Write Riches for You. Clearly, that's about money, right? The book, the specialty, the classes are about changing what's going on with you with money. Now, there's also money tools in books you can read, in foundation that you've taken, in maybe your COP, a lot of money stuff came up. So you actually have access to tools from a lot of different areas, as well as just the real basic tools of Access to apply to that topic. So again, I wouldn't look through the COP manual and the foundation manual, grab all those tools and try to package it as I'm delivering a mini foundation or a mini COP. But if I want to do a money intro, it talks about, carry the money in your pocket that you think or someone who you judge as rich would have on them. Put away 10%. Like these are really basic tools of Access to how to change your relationship with money. And you could definitely bring those into a money intro. So, and one person was asking about the books, like what books can you use? How to Become Money Workbook, only CFs can facilitate using that book. but all the other books you can do intros in. Some of the books to do book series, you have to have the specialty license, but to do a book series anyway, you have to be a CF. So, you know, for you guys, it's the book intros you can do, and it's just the How to Become Money workbook that you can't do that. And it might, Right Recovery for You might also have something about that. So I would ask Marilyn Bradford if you want to do something with the Right Recovery for You book. So.
And there's a beautiful doc we made that lists the different books, and things change all the time and new books are published in languages, but it lists the books that we have in access. Along the bottom, I just put the link in the chat, are different languages, and you can click on your language and then you can see what are the books available, and there's little check marks. There's different columns for this is what a CF can do. This is what a BF can do. So look on the CFMW column, and then you'll see if that book is available and if it's available to you to facilitate as a CFMW. And like that document, I don't think it's in the CFMW Kajabi yet, but we'll add it. So those are the kind of things that we get the questions that come up that you have, and then we create resources like that for you to find an easier way. Same thing, we do have like a frequently asked question document that like all of this that's coming up, someone said this would be great to put in a document, and we do have that. So we'll make sure that is in the Kajabi too, so that sometimes like you're listening here, but then the question comes up again or it's different. So we'll make sure that's one of the reasons to be in that Facebook group for CFMWs if you're not in it and if you're on Facebook, but also to join the online library in Kajabi. So it's just easy to find stuff like that. Cool. Rebecca, let's take your question next.
And if you have question, you will receive the recording of this if you like, because someone say, could you talk again? Like re-listen to it, because yeah, you will receive the recording. Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Okay, so actually I have two questions. The first is, I typed it in the chat, but as someone who recently signed up for the Kajabi, I wondered if it would be a contribution for me to just tell what the steps I had to go through were, because there's so much going through the chat. Because I already was a member of the Access Online courses, but when I logged in, and then it said, you can sign up for anything that applies to you. So I clicked on CFMW. It took me back to the Access Consciousness website. I had to log in there to verify that I was eligible. And then it brought me back to Kajabi, and then it appeared in my library. So for, I guess, some people, it may be a multi-step process.
And to some people didn't happen as well, because I did it too. So what do you guys do? And yeah.
So the other thing that I was told once, that I could facilitate a book study, for example, the Gentleman's Club, with a certified facilitator. As long as we were a team and they were certified, I could be a contributor to that series. And is that still true?
So usually when it comes to co-facilitating a CF with someone who's not a CF, first it is having that CFMW is what allows you to co-facilitate with the CF. And it's usually things the CF is creating that aren't like set parts of their license. So for example, you could not co-facilitate foundation, because only a CF can facilitate foundation. You and a CF could co-facilitate an intro, a book-based intro, but you as a CFM, it's a gray area. If the CF was creating their own teleseries and sent that into us for approval and said, I want to co-facilitate with a CFMW, we would say absolutely yes. In terms of a book club, it's getting a little gray because you as a CFMW can't facilitate a book club series. So you're basically co-facilitating something you're not allowed to facilitate. Does that make sense? So I'd say if you really want to do that, you and a CF, write in and we'll look at that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Let's see. So Emily, we have a question. If I'm on live with my students on Instagram, can I do the pod POC if I have a context? And by students, I think that means like access students, not school teacher students.
Yeah, and Instagram is a public platform. So if you're on Instagram Live, there might be people watching you who are take your access classes, but anyone can find that. So same as what I said earlier with Facebook Live, like Instagram, Twitter, anything public, so anything social media, right? Yes, you can use the clearing statement, but you want to refer back to the earlier part of the Zoom when I talked about kind of how you do that as an invitation, and always, always, always send people to find out more at theclearingstatement.com. So yes, you can use it, and you want to really have it be a beginning way of using it, and send people to that website so they can find out more. And it's always, you can always dive in deeper, like if you have people on a Zoom, right, where they join you and you know they're interested in access, or in a Facebook group where it's like a more of a closed group. But yes, you can use it. Just use your awareness of how you do that.
And can you explain again, what does it mean, follow your awareness? Because in a way or the other, like, I know guys, like we follow your awareness is really following what is true for you and what will create the greatest. It's not about, oh yes, I got a yes, let's use this, let's talk about demons in a Facebook Live, or like, it's literally being the energy of, if I was that person watching myself for the first time ever, what would I like to hear? What would I like to, what will attract me? So that's really being the awareness. It's asking a question, not a conclusion, and then got the information. That's it. I just wanna, because we have been all there in a way and the other, like, you know, starting our access business, but truly like being the question as well, and the awareness with your business, like, hey business, how are you doing today? What can I contribute to you today? What would you desire to be? What would you like to be? What we desire to be in the world? So those are questions that if you're willing to receive the awareness and information, you will have it. Like, because otherwise we get really, and that's how we work in access consciousness. We literally be in the question all the time and not make a conclusion of, oh, this worked the other day or that worked. All the time, what's required today from us. So I just want to point this out, because it seems that the question are always the same in a way, right? Oh yes, do the clearing statement.
I know, and Dr. Dana said this before, and so does Simone, which I think is a great, they say if you go to say something, and this would apply in class, on a video, on a Facebook Live, and you start to have that feeling of like a hairball in your throat, or like you start to say something and the energy starts to go like, and you learn, this is like, we all learn as you do this, but that's when you want to go change direction, or you know what, we're going to take a different, like, pause. That's the energy going, yeah, they can't really receive this, maybe don't go there. And we all learn that, but that's kind of a bit of following the energy. As you will, the more you ask to be aware, you will sense it'll, you know, it'll energetically seem off to keep going. And you can practice that sort of thing.
Yeah, and use the tool on unpacking all your expectation and the result they already consider, that the outcome of whatever you're creating. That helps a lot, because what if the purpose of life is having fun? What if you could have fun in anything you are creating? That's what created lightness as well that Emily was talking about. You know, the amount of time I was in the video, I'm like, oh my God, what do I talk about now? But it's also be willing to say it. Doesn't matter, like, it's you. And then you can always delete the video afterwards. It was alive, right?
True story. True story.
You say, okay, guys, done. Click and delete. That wasn't the day. Yeah. Anyway.
And I know we're at an hour, so I think we probably need to end soon. I just want to refer, this one that Sarah put in there is a common question of if people can facilitate one-on-one, like private sessions after being a CFMW. Do you want to answer that, Pam?
Yeah, so basically as a CFMW, you can do bar sessions. any of the body processes that you learned in foundation, you can do sessions with those body processes. If you've taken a 3-day body class or any of the single body process classes, you can do sessions on those. I think maybe what you're asking about is, can you do one-on-one verbal sessions? And really, what I'd encourage you to do is really look at you and your ease with using the clearing statement and facilitating other people and what they can receive. I mean, we don't say you can or can't, but really, you know, what is it? Certified facilitators have a huge amount more classes and training to do the sessions that they do. And what, you know, my preference when I do sessions is to be able to run someone's bars, and maybe stuff comes up and we're talking and I'm clearing things, but there's the bars there as well. So I'm not going to give you a definitive yes or no. That would be one of those things to use your awareness. There was also oh, go ahead, Francesca.
No, I would just like, you go, then I will say something.
Yeah,
go.
No, I was just going to say there was also a question about, do I have to use a specific title for my intro? You can call your intro anything you like. We do ask that you not, you know, use a name of a class that Gary, Dane, Simone, and Brendan facilitate, you know, like don't steal the titles of other things. But certainly if you're doing a book-based intro, you'd say, you know, write Riches for You book intro. But if you get that public profile and you're going to post the class to the public calendar, the title that's available to you for intros is Creating Change with the Tools of Access Consciousness. So that's the title that will show up. And then in the details, you're telling them, oh, this is my thriving intro, or my, you know, whatever it is that you chose to call it.
Yeah.
And one last thing, somebody was saying, you know, kind of what's different about a CF doing a book series? The one I was on, they just read the book. Well, any facilitator is going to go about facilitating a class differently. Some CFs do a book club series that has lots of podpocking and discussion. Some do a lot of reading from the book. You doing a book intro. Some of you might read more of the book and have a little bit of discussion and podpocking, or you might, you know, you might have a lot. But as CFMWs, you've had the classes that we say, yes, you know, you can use the clearing statement in your book intro, in your regular intro, you know, that's available to you, but then you'll put your own unique self into how you facilitate.
Good.
Did we want to take, I know, any more from the language lines? I know Celia or Sarah, are you guys okay?
Yes, thank you, Emily. There's a participant that it wasn't clear for her about the energy pools. She didn't understand it well.
Okay.
About what she can do.
So she cannot do an energy pool series. And we would kind of recommend you not do an intro that's an energy pool intro. It's more of a tool to bring into an intro when it comes up, not something to base an intro on.
And let me just direct you guys to, if some of these questions we've addressed earlier in the Zoom. So if you can, like, we will send out this replay. We'll also post it in the Kajabi, in the CFMW Kajabi, and in the CFMW Facebook group. And then I get, sometimes they're very personal questions or like a slight change of something. Email customerservice@accessconsciousness.com, because then we can really look at your question specifically and address it if it's something that isn't covered by these more general like facts that we're addressing. Cool. So let's maybe, I know we're over time, so maybe I just want to take like one or two more, because I think a lot of us have other.
I need to leave because I have another meeting. It's very important. So I'm so grateful, and for you all guys, have so much fun. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Thank you.
And Dr. Sarah's wanting to ask a
Hi,
question.
thanks. It's just from the Spanish chat because there's a bit of confusion. The question is, can we create an intro based on one chapter of a book, on a single book? For example, about money or about relationships? But I guess it based on one chapter of a book.
Yeah, so you could, your book-based intro could be, hey, we're going to do a deep dive into chapter 6 of this book. Yes, you could totally do that. And again, with the books, as long as the book is published in the language you're going to facilitate in, so that you're not trying to translate a book.
Okay, Anisha, last question.
Thanks, Emily. So my question to Pam and you are that can I do a book intro on elementals? An access book, an access intro on elementals and entities, because I'm so drawn to the elementals and the nature spirits, and talk a little about entities in the class. And you know, something comes up, maybe just do the clearing, and maybe pick up just one topic that I really love from the manual and just talk about and go with the flow of things. Is that cool?
So I'd say kind of yes and no. What you want to look for is that you don't have an agenda with your class topic. You know, because like if you, like, for example, sometimes somebody will be like, okay, I want to, you know, get everybody to know that this is possible. There's no question in my universe. I'm trying to get them to get it. It's not going to create. So, you know, there's something here that's speaking to you. So what if you ask it, hey, what, you know, what's possible with this? What kind of intro could I do that, you know, that might bring some of this into it? But like, if you're saying, there's something where you're saying, can I do this, and this, that's very fixed. And I would invite you to unfix it and ask some questions and see what people have questions about. You know, if you, again, what's really great with an intro is to try to recall you before you got introduced to these tools. What might you have seen a title of a class that would interest you in going to check out more? Sometimes it's really hard to not try to give everybody, we try to give everybody everything we've gotten so far in an intro, and it doesn't go over well. It's, you know, it tends to, people can't receive all of that. So, you know, like, you know, you talked about entities and nature spirits, like break it down to like, what's something really beginner and introductory that you could offer and invite people to. Okay.
All right, ma'am. Somebody also just mentioned, a lady asked a question before on Ghosts 101. So did that mean that she was going to talk about like ghosts and demons in her intro class?
I didn't catch the word. Oh, Ghosts 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was Rudrani. She's a CF. She was talking about doing a class that's about entities. And somebody's pointing out elementals and nature spirits or special intros only talks the entities CFs can facilitate. So, you know, that might be something too, like, you know, again, we can't duplicate a class that exists with a specialty. So the topic of entities is available to everyone, but you need to really look at what it is you're looking to offer. Okay. So
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yes, you can do a book intro on Dane's body whispering book. Is that correct, Emily, right?
Yes, correct.
And that's an example, brand new book. Sometimes we don't have it on the chart yet.
It's not on the chart yet.
You can email customer service if you're not sure, but yes, that one you can do. So
we hope to see if you have any other questions, write customer service at accessconsciousness.com. And then please do join the CFMW Facebook group if you're on Facebook, and then the new Kajabi online library, so that you can, and we're still adding resources there and organizing it. So it'll be updated, and, you know, the next day or two as well with more stuff. And you'll continue to find like the replay of this call and announcements for other meetings and things like that there. Awesome. Thank you so, so much. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, translators. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank